So we're going to begin with some introductions. There's probably a bunch of people sitting up here that you don't know. So I thought it would be nice if everyone could take just a moment and introduce themselves so you'll know who is on our panel tonight, and then we'll really just open it up for questions. So I'm going to start right here with Mrs. Simmons.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Simmons. I have been teaching, this is my 26th year of teaching, can't believe it, and this is about my 10th year in Waldorf education. And I have this really special nugget that I carry in my pocket, and I like to bring it out when I'm talking to people about Waldorf, because I am standing here today because of this fine gentleman right here, Carl Johnson, who was the pedagogical chair at the Santa Fe Waldorf School. Sorry, I'm introducing Carl. Sorry, Carl. But I was teaching at a little Waldorf school, the only Waldorf school in Taos, New Mexico, this little mountain village. And but before I joined them, I had my own school, and the board president of that Waldorf school invited me one cold February night to come hear a guest speaker that they had from Santa Fe, and it was Mr. Johnson. And I had never heard a thing, after teaching for 15 years, I had never heard a thing about Waldorf. And I had lived in this little tiny village for 12 years, but I had always worked at the other private school. So when I went to hear Mr. Johnson speak, my heart felt like it had found home. And I was asked to visit the Waldorf school there, and then invited to join them and to close my school. And it was such a powerful experience that I still can't get enough, which is why I'm here today.
Well, thanks, Michelle. My name is Philip Carter. This is my second year working at this Waldorf school. I went to 3 different Waldorf schools as a student in New Hampshire, New York, and Denver, Colorado. I then studied political science at Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado, before moving here and then working at this building. I didn't have a prepared nugget for you, but I'm sure you'll find them as you ask me questions. So I'll pass it on to Carl.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carl Johnson, and I'm always so glad to come here to the Wasatch Charter School, the Wasatch Waldorf Charter School, probably the newest Waldorf school in the nation, actually, and a school that's unprecedented, and that it opened its doors last year with 635 children, probably unheard of in the whole 100 years of Waldorf education. But I love to come here because there's something very exciting happening here with the teachers, with the children, your children, and it's really a vibrant education that's happening. All you have to do is walk through the hallway any single day, and you'll hear music and rhythmic clapping patterns for the times tables, and you'll hear speech work and Shakespeare and all kinds of wonderful activities. And then if you look at their work, this is some of the work of the 5th grade botany class up here, and some of the geometrical drawings from the 7th grade, which I have a pleasure of teaching right now because Michelle taught them last year and I was able to go very far. But I've been a teacher for many years. I've been a Waldorf teacher for 32 years. Now I travel around and help schools all over the world, really, in various places like New Zealand and Canada and Mexico and Nepal and China. And so I'll pass it on, and just nice to have you all here, and thank you for being interested.
Thank you, Carl. I'm Raven Garland, and I've been teaching one thing or another since I was 17 years old. And I won't tell you how long I've been teaching because then you'll know how old I am, but longer than Michelle. And I've been a Waldorf teacher, class teacher this is my second year here. I've also taught in some smaller situations, class teaching. I've also taught eurythmy to every age of person up to the oldest student I had was in their 90s, and I've taught children as young as 3, eurythmy. I came here especially to teach eurythmy, and I did that for a half a year last year when there was suddenly a need for a 4th grade teacher, and I stepped into the Birch class. And they're now in 5th grade, and that's some of their work from botany block that we just finished last week. Besides being a teacher, I've been a parent. I was a Waldorf parent before I became a teacher. I got to watch my children go through Waldorf school and have really enjoyed the community and just watching the development of my own children and many other children. One thing that I really liked in this film was where it said that there were children from all walks of life, and that's one thing I really like about this particular school, is that we have students from all kinds of backgrounds. It's a very rich experience for everyone. I'm really happy to be here, and I hope you have some wonderful questions for us.
Good evening, I'm Jane Mulder. I'm here at Wasatch so happily. This school always feels carried on the wings of angels to me. I'm the Godalis field mentor for the upper grades teachers. So many of them are taking a Waldorf teacher training kind of in the saddle, which is very brave of them. I've taken 2 classes all the way through, grades 1 through 8, and then picked up 4 other classes and helped them to graduate. My oldest class are now 38, which, how does that make sense? Because I'm only in my early 40s. And I want to tell you a little nugget about one of those first boys. His name was Adam York. And we had no local Waldorf high school, so they all went to the local public schools. And Adam was on the track team. And at the end of the track season, they have the celebratory dinner, and his coach told this story. So at one of the first track meets, Adam was way out on the outside lane, and they shot the gun and they took off, and Adam realized it was a hurdles run, and he realized they hadn't put the hurdles up in his lane. And so he was running along, and the coach said, and so what did he do? Well, where the hurdle was supposed to be, he went leaping over it. And where the next hurdle was supposed to be, he went leaping over it. And then when he realized he was going to win the race, he slowed down, because that wouldn't be fair to win the race when he didn't have any hurdles. The coach told it. I think it's a funny story, but what a beautiful picture of a Waldorf graduate who has the creativity first to imagine that something that should be there is there, and then the morality to say, I'm not going to take advantage of the situation either. So I look forward to your questions.
Mm-hmm. Good evening. My name is Tesha Brown, and I'm brand new here to Salt Lake City. I actually came to teach eurythmy in the school here. But although I'm brand new in Salt Lake City, I am far from new to Waldorf education. I've been part of a Waldorf community for as long as I can remember. I graduated from a Waldorf elementary school up in Western Canada and have been part of Waldorf education ever since. And I'm really happy to be here with you this evening.
So I'm Prairie Adams. I'm the pedagogical director. And Emily and I and Kara, 3 years ago, started working together to figure out what the building would look like and who would work here and what kind of a culture we wanted to create together. And it's been, as Carl says, carried by angels. It's really true. So I discovered Waldorf education in the 70s. We knew about Rudolf Steiner because I was living with a group of people who were teaching in a school, an alternative school called the Little School in Aptos, California. And so we would go to the big farm where we worked all day, and then we brought our children. We worked all day, and then we made big dinners at night and put them all to bed, and then studied biodynamic agriculture. And one day I found a book written by Rudolf Steiner about education, and I just came running across the school going, look, he wrote something about education. And that was the beginning and the end, and here I am. So I'm also a eurythmist. I graduated from Eurythmy Spring Valley on the East Coast, and then got my bachelor degree from Norway not too long ago, so it's never too late.
So hopefully you have a sense that you actually have a really amazing group of people with I don't know, I stopped adding up, but I think there's like 150 years of experience as students and parents and teachers and learners in Waldorf education here. So I really look forward to everyone being able to share their knowledge and experience. The one other thing I just wanted to add, maybe a bit on the heels of the video that we watched, is that part of why we wanted to share that with you is to give you a little glimpse into the fact that while we are a little bit of an island in Utah, the first and only Waldorf school, that we are part of something much, much larger, and a way of educating children and a movement that is worldwide, and also with extending within our country, particularly through the advent of public charter schools like ours. And so there is this connectedness, but I also think it's important to realize as we talk and answer your questions that in this journey of becoming a Waldorf school, we are still very, very early. And so much of what you might hear tonight, you'll think, okay, but like my child's class isn't doing that yet. And or oh, it doesn't quite look like that, quite yet here. What's wrong? And I would just say there's nothing wrong. We're at the very beginning of year number 2. So just like there's nothing wrong if you're, barely over 1-year-old is still a little tipsy and can't walk well or isn't potty trained yet, no need to panic. They will get there. I've had those moments as a mother where I wondered, like, will this child ever actually toilet independently? And then I'd remind myself, I don't know many adults who don't. So I'm pretty sure that even my daughter will one day be able to do that too. And in some ways, that's what I want to say to you. That there might be moments where we wonder, will we ever figure that piece out as a community, as a school? Will we get there? And the answer, I believe, is yes, we will, particularly as we work together and we build one another up. But I just think it's important to always remember that it's not without hard work and grace and a lot of patience. So at this point, I'd like to open up just the forum. This is really about the questions you've brought, so hopefully you've come with some, or else it'll be a really quick and quiet evening. So don't be shy. I will come and find you with the microphone.
Or not. You can just be loud.
Yes.
I just want to know how you found Waldorf.
Oh. Okay. So the shortish version is that I personally studied developmental psychology and education in college. I knew I wanted to do something in that general arena, but I just couldn't land on anything. I loved educational philosophy and the intersection between what it is that teachers believe about who children are and how they learn and how that translates into the practice in the classroom. But I couldn't find an expression of that in terms of my professional life. So I wandered a bit. I worked in a variety of education contexts. I taught in a private school that was not a match for me. I worked as an editor for a while, and then I did the bulk of my professional work in Washington, D.C. On education policy. And in all of those various experiences, I never heard a thing about Waldorf education. And then I had my oldest daughter turn 5, and we lived at the time in Northern Virginia, and I sent her off with great faith in what would come to her to the local public elementary school, where there was all-day kindergarten, and she had 10 minutes of recess time. And this little girl who was just vivacious and bright and perfectly academically capable was crushed by that experience. And